When we make you laugh, aren't we fucking funny?
Does that sound fine?
What's the boogeyman?
Welcome back to the Moonjuice Metal Horror Podcast, the podcast where we live and breathe heavy metal and horror, but are not afraid to shit all over both of them. I did it! I did it! I did it!
You did it, yeah!
Holy shit!
Without fucking it up.
I'll have to find another outtake in this thing that's utterly ridiculous to make fun of at the beginning, but that's okay. I keep hoping I'm gonna fuck it up. It's kind of like, I don't know, Murphy's Law is if you do something because you think it's gonna be funny and you know you always fuck the opening up, you're gonna be able to use that as an outtake, and then you know that you're filming yourself and there's gonna be an outtake and it's gonna be a funny moment, so it doesn't happen. It's just like it's Murphy's Law.
Yeah.
I'll find something else to take out and ruin. So we are going into the next phase of the Nightmare on Elm Street series,
Yeah.
right? We
Nightmare on
did,
Elm Street true.
yes, Nightmare on Elm Street
Freddy's
Part
Revenge.
2. Yeah, Freddy's Revenge, right? Although I don't really notice any revenge going on in this film, but
Yeah, that's also the thing that I want to say. That was the thing that I was noticed. I mean, why is it called Freddy's Revenge? For what?
I don't know, dude. Why is Jaws 5 called Jaws the Revenge? It's the same thing. Like,
You mean 4? Aren't there only 4 parts?
I thought there was.
Or were there 5?
Holy crap! I'm gonna have to go back and look. Can you look that up?
I'm pretty sure there wasn't 5.
I think you're right. I think it's just Jaws 4, the Revenge, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not even the same
'Cause I
shark.
remember
So how
Jaws
can it
3
be
was the
revenge?
one
It doesn't
where-
make any sense.
Yeah.
So if anything, instead of maybe the revenge, maybe it's just because revenge is more of a like gripping title and that's what they wanted to use, but it should have been like Nightmare on Elm Street, Freddy's Rebirth or Freddy Reborn or some shit like that.
Yeah, that would have fitted more to the movie.
Yeah,
Yeah,
because
sure.
this whole film, he's trying to come back into the real world, but it's not really explained. Okay, so we talked about this a little beforehand. Nightmare on Elm Street lore is completely different than what happens in this film, and I think the reason for that is because all we have of Freddy is the previous film, right? And so that movie kind of established the lore, but not really. Like it didn't really expand on it. So this movie was trying to take its take on the lore. But this movie gets ignored by the rest of the films. So Nightmare on Elm Street 3, 4, 5, none of them reference this film at all. In fact, the characters that are in this film never get talked about, never get brought up again. It's almost as if this film doesn't exist, right?
Yeah.
That's probably because the lore was iffy here. I mean, if you think about how the movie goes down, there's no way that this comes out good for Freddy. And if he has to do this kind of thing for the rest of the films to come back, it wouldn't work. I mean, if you follow it and say, okay, if we try this same scenario in every movie, it's never going to work right. So they ditched this movie and they went with the next movie and kind of expanded the lore from the first one as if this one didn't exist, which is kind of sad. Right? Because this movie here,
Yeah.
not that the story is great, because I really don't think it is. It's kind of dodgy on like exactly what's going on. There's some points in this movie, like if you can think back to the first episode we did where we did Nightmare on Elm Street, there were parts of it where you had to clarify, okay, no, Matt, this is the dream world right here. I was like, hey, this thing happening right here doesn't make sense. Blah, blah. And you were like, because it's a dream world. But it was pretty obvious, right? In this one, it's not obvious in a lot of scenes if it's the dream world or not. Did you get that?
Yeah, I think I know the scenes where you're talking about, but yeah, to me, the way things jumped, I thought was pretty obvious because you have like later on in the movie where they basically teleport from entire locations to another, and that's like something that happens to me in my dreams often.
Okay.
So that's why I recognize that instantly as, okay, this is probably a dream scene. And you have like Jesse running around through the hall, and you have like this red light, and that also was clear that it was a dream scene because the red light is always used when Freddy is summoned. Yeah.
Well,
So
there's a
that's
couple other
why-
scenes in here with a red light where it's not the dream world too. So I thought the same thing. There are a few scenes though where you see red light bathing everything and it's not the dream world. So it's
Yeah, yeah.
I kind of took it as when you do see a red light, it kind of just means Freddy is afoot. Like he's around. You know what I mean? Like he's there, but it's not necessarily the dream world.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, but
but
that's also the
to
thing
be
because
honest, at this
you don't
point,
really know. No, a more majority of the movie does not even take place in the dream world. What it feels like, except for
right.
like one or two scenes in the beginning and one or two in the middle, and of course at the end you have like the typical Nightmare on Elm Street end that happens like in every Elm Street movie. Beyond those three scenes, there's nothing that I could very clearly say was like, yeah, like it was in the dream scene. And multiple. And what was funny actually when I watched this movie. And the majority of Freddy scenes, it comes more across like a werewolf movie
Yeah.
instead of a Freddy
Yeah.
Krueger movie. Yeah. I
Yeah, a
mean,
little bit, a little bit. It feels like that. Well, it's probably because of the metamorphosis aspect of this too,
yes,
right?
yes,
So
yeah.
this is the only movie in the franchise where we get to see this guy come from another character. Like he morphs from one character into himself. And there's a few scenes where he's kind of half that character and half him. You can see it in his hand sometimes. Sometimes he's wearing the gloves, sometimes it's his own hand with the knives coming out of it. And that's kind of like supposed to tell you, hey, he's actually using this guy's body. The other thing that they do rather effectively in this film, and as I was watching it and Chrissy was watching it too, she was like, okay, so what are people seeing here? Are they seeing Freddy or are they seeing Jesse
Jesse.
look like a crazed maniac? Which one is it? For instance, the pool scene, which we'll get to later, it's like, okay, so everybody at that pool party, are they seeing Freddy or are they seeing Jesse? What do you think?
I think they're seeing Freddy.
Okay. Okay.
Because I mean, the thing is, it's clearly you see in the pool scene where he's murdering and slaughtering everybody. Nobody refers to him as Jesse.
Okay.
Then there's the other scene where, after the metamorphosis scene, the guy does not even refer to him as Jesse. He's just totally fucking terrified.
Yeah.
And then you have then something else happens where one of the parents, one of the fathers wants to shoot the guy with a shotgun.
Yeah.
And it's just like, and he probably at this point knew that it was probably his daughter's boyfriend. And I mean, even though you could say like maybe he would do it, yeah,
Maybe. Yeah. Well, I mean, I don't think at that
I
point it would matter. I don't think at that point it would matter who it was. Jesse outside slaughtering people by the pool or, this gruesome burn guy, you probably realize that he's murdering people, so you'd want to shoot him, regardless of who.
yeah, yeah.
But I think in that scene, the only person that really knew it was Jesse was, the female lead character, whose name I
Yeah,
cannot remember, but
yeah,
whatever.
yeah.
Yeah, so this
I can't. I
film
think
does
Lisa,
not.
Lisa was home.
Lisa, yeah, yeah. This film doesn't follow the mold of the other Nightmare on Elm Street movies, kind of like we said. So nothing that you see here makes any sense if you've seen all the movies, right? And
Yeah,
this
yeah,
is one of the movies that at the time it did really well. Like it outperformed the first movie
yeah,
by a lot. Like it made a shit ton of money. But it's sad because it's also ignored by the entire story of all the movies. Like it's like this one didn't happen, which is sad. So the special effects in this, as you and I were talking offline, the special effects in this are all practical, obviously, because it's pre-CGI, but these are arguably the best practical effects of any of the films.
yeah, yeah.
I mean, they just are.
Definitely.
To be fair, it's also like if you have a little bit of a queasy stomach for horror movies, or you like being scared, but you're not real big into being grossed out. Arguably, you're probably grossed out by this film because there's some pretty like
Yeah.
intense scenes in
Mhm.
here with a lot of gore and a lot of great practical effects. Which, for that reason alone, I champion this one over most of the films because
Yeah.
the icky parts are really icky. You know what I mean? And they stick with you. Um, but to start off with how different this movie is than all the other ones, like the opening scene, right? So you get the typical New Line Cinema picture that comes, which is with every Freddy movie, and there's always that weird Freddy Krueger music
Yeah.
that starts that. You
Yeah.
don't get that here. You get a completely silent
I mean,
New Line Cinema logo. Right. The film opens up with a school bus driving down the street. You don't really see who's in it at this point before you get A Nightmare on Elm Street Part 2, right? And
Yeah.
then that disappears and you get Freddy's Revenge. And I don't know if you noticed this being like a Terminator fan, but Freddy's Revenge hits the screen in the same lettering and the same color and the same metal style as Terminator. Did you see that?
Yeah, I got
Like,
that.
what
I
the
got
fuck
that.
are they doing, man?
I don't know.
What a
But the
fucking
one
odd
thing,
choice.
I mean, mate, do we want to get into the cast before we go past the opening?
Yeah, if you want to, go ahead.
Yeah, okay. Well, then they'll just. Well, God. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Of course. As usual, Robert England. Then we have Mark
No,
Patton
really?
that plays. Huh? Yeah, Mark Patton. No, plays Jesse Walsh. No, Jack Shoulder plays some role. Don't know what. Kim Myers plays his girlfriend Lisa.
No, Jack Shoulder's the director.
What? Rock? He's the director. Yeah. Right. Okay. No. Okay. I thought this one was also Jack Shoulder. Yeah. Robert Russler played Ron Grady. Glue Goldlager played Jesse's father, Ken Walsh. Hope Lang played Cheryl Walsh. I think that's Jesse's mother. Marshall Bell played Coach Snyder. No, I've seen that guy in a lot of movies. But Total Recall, I remember that guy from also.
Total Recall. He
Exactly.
is also the crazy general that they find in a closet in Starship Troopers.
Exactly. True.
That guy,
yeah, exactly. Then Melinda Opie, no? And yeah, of course, the story was by Wes Craven, as usual. I just totally forgot that this movie was not directed by Wes Craven. I totally forgot that.
Yeah. That's one of the reasons we get a different kind of story too, is because Wes didn't want to have anything to do with this film. I
No?
looked back at it. Yeah, so Wes Craven's original idea was never to do anything but the first movie, and he was very adamant about that. He wanted Freddy Krueger and A Nightmare on Elm Street to be the only film in the series, and that's all it was going to do. And I don't think he had a whole lot of faith that the first movie was going to do well. And quite honestly, if you look back at the podcast where we did episode 1, it's pretty obvious why he thought that, because I don't think it was a very good movie.
Yeah, of course.
I think it was laughable at best. And I know that everybody's got a soft spot in their heart for the first movie, but I just don't, man. I don't think it's good. I think the idea was great. And the idea was obviously great because they were able to continue with this, through a series of sequels. Aside from the story itself, nothing else about it was good, in my opinion. This movie's a little different. So Wes wanted to stay as far away from it as he could because he did not want to do anything else. So they got another director to do it. And they wrote the story themselves and they directed it, and we got this. And it's arguably much, much better than the first one. Right?
Yes, definitely. That definitely. It is much better than the first part.
Yeah.
No? And the first part just had these.
That's
the
not
end
to
was
say
just
there's not some really.
It was. Yeah.
Yeah. I was gonna say that's not to say that there's not some really stupid things that happen in this film, and I'm gonna rip them apart, dude. I don't care. This movie has a significant following. There are a lot of people who claim that this is the best movie of the series. I'm not gonna argue with that because I have seen them all. This one's got not necessarily a better story, but better acting and better special effects, if that's what you like. Right.
I'm not sure. I'm not sure if it's the best one. I would have to rewatch the other ones. It's been a very long since I've
It's
seen
all a
them.
matter of opinion anyway, man. I mean,
Of course.
it depends on what you like in your horror movies, right? For me, story matters and acting matters, and then practical effects and just the overall effectiveness of the film, which I think this movie is arguably more effective than a lot of the other ones in scaring you or being gross, right?
Yeah.
And so for that reason alone, I think it's the better movie.
Yeah. And now, shortly before we get into the movie, people,
So yeah,
I'm
we
just gonna
get
do my part. If you like our content and this episode, don't forget to follow us on Spotify and subscribe to our YouTube channel and give a like on this video and leave a comment there. And if there's any other movies you'd like us to do, just mention it in the comments.
Yeah, because we're not opposed. I don't think there's one person that's written and said, "Hey, I'd like you to see you guys do this movie," that we haven't done it yet.
Actually, one person wanted us to do Mouth of Madness. That was one that was requested.
We're gonna do that. Don't we have that on the schedule?
Yeah. Yeah, we got it on schedule. Just we're not.
I can't wait to do that movie. I fucking love that movie.
Yeah, it's great. It's an awesome movie.
Yeah. I mean, there's there's films that you want to do, like kind of like The Thing, that are wonderful because they're your favorite movies, or it's one of your favorites, or it's a movie that you really like. And then you got movies that we can't wait to rip apart. Like, this is kind of one of those. This one is it's got some great parts to it. It's a likable movie, but there's definitely some silly shit going on here that I'm gonna rip apart.
Yeah.
But yeah, we'll get into it and let it go from there. So we already
Yeah.
said opening scene, we got the school bus. It's driving down the street, obviously in Springwood, which is where all these movies take place, including Freddy versus Jason. By the way, when we do that movie, we're gonna have to address the fact that I guess Springwood and Crystal Lake are right next door to each other because it takes them like 5 minutes to get there. And they're a little fucking Scooby-Doo bus in that movie. Anyway, school bus is driving down the road.
Yeah.
You get a nightmare. Yeah, you get A Nightmare on Elm Street Part 2, and then you get Freddy's Revenge and Big Terminator 2 letters.
Yeah.
You get, and so what a lot of people don't know, when if you've seen the movie, you know it, but this part is actually a dream sequence. And your first clue there is the fucking bus driver, right?
Yeah.
Because the bus driver is Robert Englund in the flesh. And what's cool is when they're the opening credits too, when they're telling you who's in the movie, and it says Robert Englund is Freddy Krueger, and he's exactly what's going on in the background right when it says that, because he's the guy driving the bus. We get a bus full of kids, and they focus in on one character in the back, and that's Jesse, right? If you notice, this scene, we see him as kind of a different looking dude than we see him in the rest of the film, right? So there's a reason for that. So he looks like he's got dark circles under his eyes. His hair's greased down. He looks scared of his own shadow, and he's just kind of sitting there looking like a creep on the bus. And that's because that's his own idea reflection of himself in the dream world. This is the way he really feels about himself, right? And I
Yeah.
thought
Mhm.
that, and so that I went back to see what the actor had to say about it, and he said, yes, absolutely. This is how this character really feels about himself. This is not the actual way I look. This is how he feels about himself in the dream world. So the bus is riding down the street. It keeps flashing back and forth to Jesse's character in the back, who's looking more and more standoffish, like he doesn't want to have anything to do with the other kids on the bus. The bus is stopping, dropping kids off, and driving away. And he's still sitting in the back, just looking kind of weird. And you get flashes of the bus driver every once in a while, Robert Englund in the back of his head. He turns around and looks at kids when they leave the bus. And he's got kind of a crappy look on his face, kind of like you would expect a child molester. It's pretty fitting, right? The bus keeps going, and eventually they drop off all the kids except for two girls and Jesse's character, right? Or Jesse. And they're sitting there like maybe 4 seats away from him ahead, and they're making fun of him. Like they're like, oh, look at this fucking creep in the back, blah, blah, blah. He's ignoring everybody. He's trying to open a window. The window won't go down. They make fun of him because he can't open the window. And then the bus speeds up, right? It just starts speeding up. And you notice this from the back window because you see things going by quicker, and you see people on the road going by quicker. And it speeds past one of the girls' stops, right? And she says,
Yeah.
that was my stop back there. You missed my stop. And the bus driver's not paying attention to her when she says that. And she's like, no, really, you missed my stop. And then the bus goes off the road into this desert that comes out of nowhere, right? This fucking desert that does not exist in Springwood. All of a sudden, right outside Springwood is a huge desert. And so the bus just fucking drives into this desert, and it's doing this. And you're like, anybody in this bus is getting their head slammed against the roof at this point, because it's literally hopping over dunes and everybody in the back is screaming. The two girls and him, they're freaking out. And then you get a flash of the bus driver shifting gears, and it's not a person's hand, it's Freddy's glove shifting the gears,
Yeah.
right? You realize at this point, okay, if you're familiar with the other Nightmare on Elm Street film, you already know this is a dream sequence. There's this thing that they did with 80s films that used to drive me fucking nuts, and you probably know what I'm talking about. If it's daytime outside and they want to make it look like night, they just put this crappy filter over the camera. And so then it makes everything look like it's not quite night, but really what it looks like is it's daytime with a crappy filter over the camera.
I know what you're talking about.
Right? So the idea is it's getting darker outside. It's turning in night. There's a lightning flash that strikes a cactus, whatever.
Yeah.
And then this bus is kind of careening into this desert. And then all of a sudden you get this red light that just covers the entire bus. Like the windows are red, everything's red. So now we know we're in like Freddy territory. They look out the window.
Exactly.
The two girls notice that the ground is collapsing beneath the bus. The sand is shifting. It almost looks like an earthquake is going on outside. And
Yeah.
Jesse's looking out the other window. He sees the same thing. And the ground starts to fall away to the point that the only thing you see now is these two little parts of rock that are holding the bus over this huge precipice, right? There's just this huge, never-ending pit beneath them. And the bus is just teetering on these two rock pieces. They're freaking out. They're at the back of the bus. Freddy stands up at the front of the bus, and then this is when you realize it's him, and you get this kind of different view of Freddy Krueger than we've had in the first movie. The first movie, he looked nasty and wet, right? Just like he looked burned, but he looked like soaked and wet. This movie, I think maybe they used a little bit more of the budget on the makeup because he actually looks burned. He looks like a burn victim this time. Like,
Yeah, that's true.
there's not a whole lot of texture on his face. He looks like he just stepped out of a fire. Like even his brow line is kind of collapsing over his eyes. This for me is arguably the best makeup they did for Freddy Krueger in the entire
that's
series.
true.
So he stands up and he's laughing. He's like holding on to both poles and he's like laughing at them because they're screaming. And he's like, yeah. And then he starts walking towards the back of the bus. Okay. Because the bus is teetering on these two pieces of rock, his weight is now shifting the back of the bus to tilt backwards like this because it's the girls and Jesse, they're in the back. He's walking that way. The bus starts to tilt a little bit more and a little bit more and a little bit more the whole time. He's got his glove and he's dragging it down the seats, right? In typical Freddy fashion. He's dragging his glove down the seats and on the ceiling of the bus to where you get that nails on chalkboard sound. And right before he's about to slash all three of them, the scene cuts to Jesse's mom in the kitchen cutting tomatoes, right? So it's the typical horror movie thing where you're about to get a slash and then you see her knife going into a tomato. And at that point, you hear Jesse scream bloody murder upstairs.
Yes.
So the whole
Yes,
family
totally.
sitting down to have breakfast. That's his dad, his sister, and his mom who's making breakfast for everybody. He screams bloody murder. They're like, oh crap, it happened again, right? So he's been having these nightmares already a few times. We get a look at Jesse in his bed. He's in his bed in a room where nothing has been unpacked and he's covered in sweat. And so it's obvious to everyone that they just moved into this house because these are packing boxes, right? So the family just moved into this house. He hasn't gotten his room unpacked. He comes downstairs where the family's eating breakfast. And the first thing his dad says to him is, hey, I want that room cleaned up. We moved in such and such amount of time ago. The room needs to be cleaned up and I want it cleaned up. He's like, yeah, okay, I'll clean it up, whatever. Did you notice the cereal box that his sister has?
Yeah.
It's incredibly racist. Good old 80s racism, right? It's
Yeah.
it doesn't stop there either because the little girl's digging into the box and that's when you get to see what's on the box. It's this extremely racist drawing of a Chinese person, right?
Yeah.
And it's called Fu Manchus. You would not be able to get away with this nowadays. Just saying. This is like typical 80s racism that was okay at the time. She's got her arm in the box and she's digging for something and the mom's like, oh, what you looking for? And she's like, oh, I'm looking for the Fu Man fingers. When stuff like this happens in 80s films, some things just don't age well at all. And if you were having to watch this now with other people, they'd be like, wow, I can't believe they got away with that. But the truth is,
People
you could get
actually
away
did
with
that.
things in the
I mean,
80s you
just like
can't get.
the same thing.
Oh, yeah.
It's the same thing if you watch multiple commercials from the 80s. There's a lot of stuff that's pretty fucking bad.
Things don't age well. This is one of them. Yeah, it says free inside Fu Man fingers. And the drawing is so racist, dude. Oh my God, whatever. Okay. So they're all kind of sitting around the table. They're talking about him going to school, whatever. So he leaves the house and goes outside and there's this car that's out there, right? And I don't know what model car this is, but this thing is a total piece of junk. It's what the fuck kind of car is this? It's a convertible. I didn't look up what it was, but honestly, it's a classic. It's a classic car, but it's a very beat up version of it.
Then he goes out with Lisa into the car, and he doesn't even have a key. And he says, "Aren't you afraid that somebody will steal your car?" And then he says, "Like what? This soldier." He gave his car some stupid name or whatever, but it's like nobody's gonna steal this
Yeah,
shit.
nobody's gonna steal this piece of shit. You're
Nobody's gonna steal this
absolutely
car.
right. He says something like the death box or something like that. Something that makes the
Yeah,
car
yeah,
sound
something like
extremely
that.
dangerous to drive. Yeah, and he's right. Nobody's gonna
Yeah.
fucking steal his car. This car is hideous. I wouldn't if I was a teenager in this town and wanted to steal a car, this would be the last one I stole. So he gets in the car with his girlfriend, we're assuming, right? I thought this was Meryl Streep. I'm not gonna lie to you.
I did too. I thought it was Meryl
She
Streep as
looks
well.
just like Meryl Streep. Like
I
spitting
was full.
image.
I wanted to bring it up, but I was fully convinced, no, up until when I looked it up for this episode. But literally, I thought my entire life that this was Meryl Streep until I looked this up like a few days ago when we said we were going to do this episode now, and I was like, what? That was really surprised to me that this was not Meryl Streep because she looks like Meryl Streep, doesn't she?
She looks exactly like her.
Yeah.
I was in the same boat you were. We actually had to stop the film and look up who the actress was because I thought for sure this was Meryl Streep. She looks exactly like her from the hair to the face to the mouth to the nose, the eyes, everything screams Meryl Streep. And I couldn't believe it that it wasn't her.
Everything.
It's fucking weird,
Yeah.
man.
Yeah.
But then
It
again,
is
I don't know
totally.
how old Meryl Streep was when this movie was made. So, I mean,
I don't. Me neither. No.
it's possible that people watching the movie also thought that this was Meryl Streep. But whatever.
Probably.
The funny thing is, when I was going through like videos and stuff about this movie to see like what other people thought about it or if they could pull anything out of the movie that would be interesting to talk about, this actress, which I think her name is Kim, I can't remember her last name, but her name is Kim. She was on a show and they literally went, "Oh, look, it's Meryl Streep" when she came out as a joke because apparently she gets this joke all the time that she looks like Meryl Streep.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Meryl, we're gonna call her Meryl Streep. How about that? Meryl Streep in the
Yeah.
car
Yeah.
with Jesse. We're not really sure if there's a couple or not. She makes the joke about his car and him not using a key. He jokes about that the car is a total piece of shit. And then they drive off, and then it is very apparent that the car is a total piece of shit because it leaves a giant black smoke cloud behind it, driving away.
Yeah.
The next scene we get is kind of the high school that they all go to, right? And this is your typical
Yeah.
run-of-the-mill American high school. It looks like my high school. I think this was actually filmed at a high school because I don't know how they'd be able to put a set like this together. But there's a baseball game going on. This is where we get introduced to Grady. Grady's the jock character in this movie, right?
Yeah.
And he kind of looks like your typical high school jock in every horror movie that's a total dick. And he's up the bat.
Yeah.
And Jesse's standing in the outfield and he's not paying attention to what's going on. So Grady hits the ball and it's heading directly for Jesse. Jesse is not paying attention to the ball because he's paying attention to his girlfriend who's on the sideline. And he gets smacked in the head with the ball and it knocks him out cold. So Jesse's laying on the ground. His dick of a coach comes over and is like, "Damn boy, start paying attention." And Grady then walks over to him and it makes a joke at him, smacks him in the face a few times as a joke. It's like, "Get back up," whatever. And so then they restart the game at the point when Grady hit the ball and Grady gets to run bases, right? Ball's in the air.
Mhm.
Jesse picks up the ball and then gets him out. So Grady's running for the base that Jesse's standing on. Jesse gets him out because he has the ball. Grady doesn't like that and attacks him. So this is the point where you're supposed to believe that this guy is the dickhead jock because he just basically jumps on Jesse and pulls down his pants in front of everybody.
Yeah.
He pantses him and then they wrestle around on the ground for a little while and there's a fight. The dickhead coach comes back over and breaks it up. And the next scene you get is these two guys with the typical American high school jock punishment that you get if you fight on the field, and that's push-ups, right? So they're out there
Yeah.
side by side having to do push-ups. It looks like it's fucking 92 degrees out there too, dude. I'm not sure where this is going.
Yeah, but they're trying to do push-ups, man.
Right, yeah, trying to do push-ups. I don't know how many they did up to this point, but I would assume
Yeah,
the
but
eighth could do
it's like I don't know. These are. I find it hard to believe that these two guys are that unfit. I mean, they're young kids, and they're like super fucking trouble doing these push-ups, And I'm not like a sport or fit person, but I could do push-ups like that easily, no? And it's like I don't know, and they're
Yeah, yeah, they're
It's
not
like,
making
what
it.
the
I mean,
hell?
I don't know how many push-ups they did up until this point that we see them, but
Yeah.
they're struggling. Like they're at that typical position of muscle failure where half your body's on the ground and you can't get the rest of it up. Right.
Yeah.
The next scene we get is the dickhead coach who's back in his nice air-conditioned office smoking a cigarette, and he's like looking out the window at these two guys like struggling to do push-ups. Grady makes the comment to Jesse, Jesse makes a comment to Grady, he's like, how long do you think he's gonna keep us out here doing push-ups like this? And Grady's like, probably until the night. The guy's a jerk, and he also likes pretty boys like you. So and again, Jesse's like, "What?" He's like, "Yeah, he goes to that what is it? What is it the bar?" He says the name of the bar. It's like some S&M bar downtown. He's like, "Yeah, he goes to an S&M bar downtown and he likes
I
you
don't
because you're
know.
a pretty boy."
Yeah.
So then the coach comes out and says, "Okay, hit the showers." Like he's giving him a break. So they go in,
Yeah.
obviously take a shower. We get a locker room scene where the two guys are standing there talking to each other. And unlike a lot of horror movies where the jock is always an asshole and you're supposed to hate this guy, you start to get the feeling pretty quick that these guys are actually becoming friends right now. Right. So
Yeah.
that's where it kind of turns the trope on its head. This guy's supposed to be a jerk and the typical jock, but they're actually friends. Like they're making friends at this point. And for the rest of the movie, they're friends. Like this guy doesn't come off as
Yeah.
the annoying jock anymore. And I honestly can't hate Grady's character. Like Grady's not a bad guy.
No, he's not.
He's not a bad guy. Like, he's somebody I probably would have hung out with in high school. He looks like he'd be an annoying prick and thinks he's everybody to the ladies, but he's actually a pretty chill dude. But he says to Jesse, he's like, "So you just moved here, right? And you moved into that house with the bars on the windows and stuff?" And Jesse's like, yeah, that's it. And he said, "Well, you should tell your dad he's a total sucker." Right? Jesse's like, what are you talking about? He's like, "Well, don't you know all the things that happened there? There was a girl who went crazy because she saw her boyfriend get murdered across the street and her mom locked her up in the house after that. And then the mom committed suicide in the house." Like, what a fucking bomb to drop on somebody, dude. This guy just moved here
Yeah. Yeah.
and in incredible detail. So it's not like this story is not known by everybody in the town. So now
Yeah. It's just yeah.
go ahead.
It's just crazy that nobody has told him this, like earlier, because apparently they've been living quite some time
Yeah.
here now. And Jesse just walks off like, you're full of shit, and then it's just, kind of gone. But I would suggest, like he's already been at a while at this school, and he's made friends. He even has a girlfriend already at this school, whatever. So he's been there more than a few weeks, I would say. And it's like, this is just stupid that this is a surprise for him now, because he probably was already aware of this. I mean, but
I mean, I would be. I mean, in America,
Yeah.
word travels pretty fucking quick in small towns, and this is not a gigantic town. So
not only in the States, in Germany too. It was pretty much when I moved into the German village. It was like within like a few days, everybody in the town knew, like, up on that hill, there's a crazy American that lives up there.
yeah, yeah, yeah. The word gets around, dude. But so I have a hard time believing as well that this is the first time he's heard it. But he acts like it's a complete surprise, right? Next scene we get is Jesse in his bed again. He's having a hard time sleeping because he's tossing and turning, and so he decides to get up, right? Somebody in the family is obviously a
Yep.
doctor or a nurse. Did you get that?
Somebody in his
Yeah,
family or what?
gotta be. Because the sleep shirt that he is wearing walking downstairs is the typical blue smock.
Yeah, now I know what you mean.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's the typical blue doctor smock that they wear in Germany and in the States. Like
Yeah.
it's the universal doctor shirt. I noticed that because I have a few of
Of
them
course,
myself, right? Because I steal them from Lonsdale Regional Medical Center because they're really comfortable to sleep in. Don't tell anybody I said that. I might have to edit this. But I have a few, as well as the pants. The pants are also very comfortable. You don't even have to wear anything under them. They're just like wearing pajamas. And I was like, damn, these are great. So when I got done with my CAT scan, I just stuffed them in my bag. And anyway, I agree with this kid. These things are comfortable as fuck. So he walks downstairs half asleep because he can't sleep. He opens the refrigerator, immediately drops orange juice on the ground, and it splitters everywhere because it's in a glass jug or whatever.
Yeah.
He noticed something's weird is going on outside the window, and we're not really sure what it is, but there's a window in the kitchen, and he sees something outside, hears something, whatever. decides to go outside, which it's a horror movie, right? It's a
Yeah.
horror movie. So if you hear something strange or scary outside, you're supposed to run at it and, hope it doesn't kill you. Anyway,
Yeah, of course.
he
Yeah. I
goes
mean,
outside,
usually.
and as we know, this is the same house that was in the first movie, right? So this is the area outside the house, and we already know that there's kind of a window leading to the basement that you can look into. So he goes outside and he notices there's this glowing that's kind of representative of a fire. So he's like, what the fuck? And he looks down, and we get a kind of a view of Freddy Krueger again from the back. And he's putting his
Yeah, you see
whole
Freddy Krueger from
hand
the back.
He's putting his whole hand in the fire. It's kind of a cool scene. Like his whole hand is engulfed in fire. Like he's just ignoring the fires there, and he pulls something out of the furnace and it's wrapped up in like a towel, right? Of course, everybody who's seen the first movie already knows what that is because the mother in the first movie, when she was explaining it to her daughter, when she wouldn't leave the topic alone, she pulled the glove out of the furnace and said, hey, this is the glove of the child murderer, Fred Krueger. Our family and a whole bunch of other parents in Springwood killed him because he murdered a bunch of kids. If you notice in the first movie, we don't get a number of kids. Did you catch that?
Yes. Yeah, we never got a number.
You never got a number. This movie, you get a number of how many kids he murdered. So it makes it a little bit worse because apparently there were 20 of them. 20 kids that he took and he murdered, right? Anyway,
Yeah.
because he sees this man in his basement that he's already seen in his dreams, he decides to go down into the basement. This is one of those things, Mike, I
Yeah.
don't
I mean,
understand.
what, you know, you normally you would go and call the fucking cops. Go in, scream for his parents or whatever, but it's just like, no, yeah, you have like this total crazy maniac burning bodies in his basement. Well, I'm just gonna go down to the basement. I mean,
That's exactly what he does. He goes and he tries to open the basement door, and the basement door won't open because somebody's holding it from the other side. And this is obviously Freddy messing with him, right? So he's trying to push on the door.
yeah,
Freddy's holding the door shut, and then the door swings open and nobody's there. In typical horror fashion, he's like, "Oh shit, nobody's there," and turns to the right, and Freddy's standing right in front of him. Right. I love this scene. I love this scene for a few reasons. It's shot very, very dark, but the light that is in the scene shows you everything you need to see, and it kind of pulls the horror out of it. So Freddy steps up to him. You kind of get a silhouette of Freddy on the side. You don't really see what he looks like, but you see Jesse's face, and the only thing you can see is his eyes because of the light. And Freddy's running his knife fingers down his face, and he's like, buddy, you and I have a lot of work to do together. And then the next scene that you see is the same thing, but on Freddy's face. And all you see is the light from here up on Freddy's face. So you get a really good look at his eyes. I'm not really sure if these are Robert Englund's eyes. I don't know, but very, very creepy looking with some really cool
yeah.
content.
He's wearing
Yeah,
contacts. You can see that. You can see that he's wearing
right.
contacts in this scene because Freddy like pushes Jesse against the wall, and he says, like, just like you said, we have a lot of work
Yeah.
to do. You're the body, and I have the brains. And he
Yeah.
takes off his hat, and you just see his brain
I
on it.
love
That's also a cool
I love
scene. Yeah,
this because, like I said, it's all shot very dark and there's a lot of use of light here. So when he takes off his hat and he pulls his skin back, it really looks like he's ripping the skin off his head to expose the brain. And I really
yeah,
fucking love this effect. Like this looks really cool. Like I want to go back and
it
watch the
does.
scene
It
again just
does.
because it's fucking cool looking. So he says to Jesse, yes, you're the body and I'm the brain. And then he tears the top of the skin off his head so you see his brain. He laughs maniacally at Jesse, and then his brain starts pulsating, which is pretty cool. Like it's actually
Yeah, that's cool. That's
Jesse wakes up screaming again, just like he did the day prior. This time his parents run in to kind of see what's going on. They're like, hey, what's going on? Are you okay? He's like, yeah, it was just a nightmare. It's nothing. He's covered in sweat again. You get the feeling that his parents are actually pretty like worried. And I think I would be too.
yeah,
Because this shit is
yeah.
not normal for a teenager to be having these kind of dreams
No,
at all.
no, no. Yeah, but his dad
Next scene we get
is
is in
a
the
pretty
class.
fucking jerk. I mean,
Yeah, his
Jesse's
dad is an
dad in
ass.
this movie is really a complete fucking asshole.
I can't stand the guy. He's the
Yeah.
real villain in this film. It's his fucking dad. So obviously this kid's not getting any sleep. Jesse's not getting any sleep. So the next scene is in a classroom and it's biology, right? So the biology teacher
Yeah.
is talking about the human body and what does what, and then he pulls out an actual fucking human heart and lays it on the fucking desk. And everybody in the classroom is like grossed out by this. They're like, oh, whatever, except for Jesse, because Jesse is falling asleep. He's falling asleep in
Yeah,
class because the guy is not getting any sleep. The jock guy, who's not actually an asshole, is kind of sitting across from him, and he keeps looking back at him and laughing, right? And this is one of those
yeah,
scenes where I wasn't sure if because he's kind of asleep. I mean, you figure it out pretty quick, but because he's kind of falling asleep, if this is actually a dream sequence or not. And I think that's the whole joke. You're supposed to think it's a dream sequence because
yeah, yeah,
a snake,
exactly. Because you have the snake,
yeah, a snake cart starts sneaking
the
around his
snake hugging
shoulder,
him, wrapping around his neck.
wraps around him, wraps around his neck. And when he notices this, he screams bloody murder in the classroom while he's half asleep because of the snake. Everybody reacts. The snake is also pretty freaked out by this. I don't know if you noticed that in the scene, but the snake is like, oh, what the fuck? Like kind of
Yeah,
moved back away from him. Like, why are you screaming, kid? And you notice he's awake and the snake is still there. So obviously somebody in the room put the snake on him, right? It's not actually a dream sequence. The
yeah,
teacher walks over and takes the snake off of him and then does the typical teacher thing, which is like, if you want to act like an asshole in my class, you can act like that somewhere else, blah, blah, blah. Everybody's laughing at him. He puts
yeah,
the snake back in the aquarium, which is in the room. Grady laughs at Jesse. Right. He laughs at him because he thinks the whole thing's funny. Jesse, instead of being really upset by this or like pissed off, kind of is also laughing about it. Like he realizes how silly it is and
it
gives
just
Grady
flips
the
off.
bird. Yeah. So you get the idea that the chemistry between these two guys is not bad. Like they're friends, you know, and
Yeah,
it probably was Grady that put the snake on him too. But whatever. No
yeah,
big deal.
probably.
No. Uh, Next scene we get from there is Jesse's girlfriend, and she's swimming in the pool at her parents' house, which the pool scene later, I don't, can you
Yeah.
explain this to me? Like, those were her parents in the pool scene, right? Has to be. Okay,
Yes, of course. That
so
was
it
her
was
mom,
her
and her
home.
mom comes
Okay.
back later. Yeah, it was her home. Yeah, this is like this is. It's always funny, you know, how in American movies they never really show just normal American families. They always show
Yeah.
rich people.
Yeah. She's definitely a rich kid, dude. But
Yeah, I
her
mean,
her personality does not fit the rich kid mold at all. Like she's actually a really nice girl. Like she's not stuck up. She's not about money.
yeah,
Yeah.
they're all nice. I just think it's just funny. I mean, modern movies and TV shows, it's a little bit different. You often see them just so normal people. I mean, very often in American movies, they don't show just normal Americans or whatever. In the most movies you see, these are rich
Yeah.
people.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just, I remember that when I first moved to Germany, it was like I got this question from multiple Germans. A lot of Germans back in the 90s or whatever really thought that the most Americans all lived in big mansions. And I got this question multiple times from Germans.
Yeah.
I think it's funny,
But to
yeah.
go along with that, it's not just "Oh, you guys are all rich and you live in big mansions, but you live in big mansions that are made out of cardboard. You know what I mean? Like, for whatever reason,
Well,
I
yeah.
blame this on the stupid movie trope where if you punch a wall in a movie and you want it to be an emotional scene, the person's fist usually goes through the wall, right? And that's just something that American filmmakers use because it has a more impactful feeling about the scene, right? But that's not actually how this shit
Yeah.
works. It's not really how it works. American houses for anybody in the German audience, that does not happen. Like not even in the trailer part, dude. Like the walls are actually sheetrock, and to put your fist through a wall, you've actually got to like really hit the wall with something heavy. That's not going to happen. But because that's used in movies so
Yeah.
much, everybody in Europe thinks that our walls are made out of paper, which is hilarious. And I have to correct people all the time. I'm like, no, that's just a movie trope. That's not really how it works. You know, even Chrissy thought the same thing until I brought her home and she saw Mobile and she's like, oh, it's not really, these are really well made houses. I'm like, yeah, no shit. It's not what you see in movies, dude. So yeah, next scene we get she's in the pool at her parents' house. She's swimming around. Her mom brings the phone out to her because somebody's called and it's obviously Jesse. So they're talking on the phone and she asks him to come over and meet up with her or whatever. And he's like, yeah, okay, absolutely. So he puts on his jacket, goes down the stairs. His dad is just laying on the couch doing absolutely fucking nothing. His dad sees him come down the stairs and he's like, hey boy, I told you I wanted that room cleaned up. And he's like, the typical Luke Skywalker in the first Star Wars film, but I was going to go down to Tashi Station to pick up some power converters. You can waste time with your friends when your chores are done.
Yeah.
He's like, get back upstairs and fucking clean that room, right? So he's like, oh, fuck,
Yeah.
okay. So he goes back upstairs to clean his room. His room looks exactly the same way it did the first time we saw the room. None of the boxes have been emptied. Nothing's put away. The room's a fucking
No,
wreck.
nothing. Yeah.
And this scene gets me, dude. So around this time, this is when that song came out. What is it? Rick Astley. Rick Astley. I'm never gonna give you up. I'm never gonna
Yeah.
let you down. That song was all the rage at this point. And so his hair is done up exactly like Rick Astley's was in that video.
Yeah.
And of course, he pulls sunglasses out of a box that he hasn't packed yet. He puts them on. It's the Rick Astley sunglasses too. I
Yeah.
get the feeling that they wanted to use that song in this scene, but they probably couldn't get the rights to it. So they played a different song. This kid's dancing
Yeah.
around his room like Rick Astley, doing some kind of provocative moves, you know, like thrusting his hips and all this stuff. He puts on this really stupid baseball cap that's like totally 80s baseball cap that doesn't look at all.
Yeah.
Whatever. He's cleaning and he's dancing at the same time. He finds this other pair of glasses, which these are the glasses that you have in the thumbnail, right? That he's wearing. I have no fucking idea where these glasses came from. These things are like
Yeah.
they have like wings on them and sparkly bits and all sorts of stuff. He puts them on his bed. He's dancing on his bed to the music, and he's got this pop gun that he sticks between his legs like it's a dick. And he pulls it, and it pops. And at that moment,
Yeah.
his mom walks in with his girlfriend into the room, and they both get dancing like this, right? It's a pretty embarrassing scene. I think I would have just jumped out the window. I would
I
have
mean,
done what
I
you
mean,
said
the
you
thing is, I mean,
I would have done what you said you would have done during the in that one episode.
the
Wrong
wrong turn
turn where you were
episode.
like, I
Yeah.
don't know what
Yeah.
I
But
would do. I
the
think
thing is,
I would
if
just
it
jump
was
out
just
the
your
window.
mom, it'd be like, what makes it bad is not, okay, it's your mom. Okay, that's one thing, maybe. Nah. But
Yeah.
that it's your mom and your girlfriend.
Yeah.
That's pretty
Pretty
embarrassing.
fucking embarrassing. Yeah. So he's obviously horribly embarrassed. So he takes off the cap and the sunglasses and he's like, "Oh, hi," you know. What can we take a moment to admire how great this girl is, dude? Like this is the kind of girlfriend that every guy needed in high school. Well, she's super fucking nice. She's really
It's
helpful,
basically one.
really understanding. She's like, "Hey, I heard that you needed some help cleaning up your room, so I'm here to help you clean up your room." And so she
Yeah. Yeah.
starts cleaning up the room with him. As they're cleaning up the room, she notices there's a diary or a kind of a pink book in the top of the closet, right?
Red.
Mike, how come he has not seen this diary before? Because it's right there in plain
Uh,
view and it's been
well,
sitting
I
there
mean,
the
if
whole
you've
time.
seen the fact, Matt, if you look at his room, he's probably not really done much in the room, just been there in his bed most of the time.
Yeah, in his bed period, right.
He's probably never opened up the closet at this point.
No, probably not. I mean, there's some clothes hanging in the closet that are obviously not his too. I don't know if you noticed that, but like there's some clothes hanging in the
I
closet that
noticed,
obviously
yeah,
belong to the girl that was in the room before him. So you're probably right. He probably hasn't cleaned out any
Nancy.
closets or hung anything up. Nancy, yep. So
Yeah,
she pulls out this red diary that she finds at the top. She's like, "Oh, this is weird," you know? She opens it up and she realizes it's from the girl who used to live there. And so they start going through it. And as they're reading it, they're reading things that sound oddly sexual about her boyfriend across the way, which we know from the first movie, he lived in the house next to hers or across the street.
yeah.
So she could see into
Mhm.
his room and he could see into her room. And so she's writing down erotic passages about, oh, I just want to go see him. You know, I can see him changing. It's oddly personal stuff, but they're sitting there like reading it. And then as they're reading it, the passages get darker and darker. And it starts to become more about what she's seeing in her dreams and passages about Freddy Krueger. It- yeah. Yeah.
And he just gives the diary over to Lisa, his girlfriend, to Meryl
Meryl
Streep,
Streep. Yes.
and it's just totally fucking shocked at this point, not saying anything anymore.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think to be fair, I would be too. Like this is a reoccurring thing. Like I know that we said that this movie kind of gets tossed out with the entire Freddy series. Like they act like this movie didn't exist, but there are parts of it that are carried over from this movie, and this is one of them. This is a reoccurring thing where somebody's like, "Oh, they're having the same dreams I'm having. Why is this?" And the thing is, it's always that house, right? So whoever ends up in that house ends up getting Freddy. Like Freddy comes along with the property. So
Well, not according to lore,
no,
not.
what does lore say?
Well, the lore is usually it's the children that live on Elm Street.
Right.
Because the families that murdered Freddy Krueger were all families that got together that all lived on
Okay.
Elm Street. So that's why later on, after Freddy got possessed by the dream demons and became what he was, he always went back to children in Springwood that lived on the Elm Street.
Okay. Okay. Now it makes a little bit more sense.
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, we get that scene where they're going through the diary. He notices that she's talking about things that he's having nightmares about too. The next scene we get is that very night. He's in his bed. He's having another nightmare, sweating to death as usual. The dream this time doesn't scream, but he wakes up out of the dream. At least we think so, right? He looks over to the left and he's got kind of this baseball statue with baseballs on it and a baseball hat. The typical American one that's made out of plastic, right? And it is completely melted. Like it is melting. And this is when he realizes that the temperature in the room is hot enough to start melting everything plastic. So the hat is melted. He's got some other statue that's next to his bed that's also melted. He looks over to a record because this is the 80s. Everybody had records. The record's melting on the side of the chest of drawers. He's like, what the fuck is going on?
Yeah.
Gets up and walks out of his room because it's too hot in there and he doesn't know what's going on. What's actually going on is he's in the dream world right now. So he goes down the typical stairs that we saw in the first movie and goes straight down to the basement because that's the last place that he saw Freddy the last time Freddy attacked him, right? So he goes down the stairs in the basement and this time actually makes it to the furnace instead of being attacked by Freddy immediately. Opens the furnace and realizes that the wrapped up glove is still in there, right? And he opens it and looks at it and is like, what the fuck is this? This was the thing in my dream. It's obviously Freddy's glove. Takes it out, looks at it, throws it on the ground when he realizes what it is. And then Freddy is standing at the top of the stairs watching him this whole time. And he's like, hey, why don't you take that glove and try it on for size, you know? And he's like, no, I'm not going to do that. Freddy cuts right to the chase and is like, kill for me. He doesn't even bother like trying to sell him on the idea. Like Freddy is a terrible salesman. Terrible salesman. Like don't ever hire this guy to sell anything for you. He's like, well, let's just jump to the chase. Kill for me. For me now.
Kill for me.
He's like, no, I'm not going to do that, and wakes up out of the dream, right? So at this point, we kind of get what's going on a little bit. We understand that Freddy, if he's the only person seeing Freddy right now, and Freddy is trying to get him to do something for him, we know Freddy is now trying to force his way back into the real world, right? Which is a little off script. It's a little off script for Freddy Krueger, and we find that out with the rest of the movies that come after this. This is the only instance where you see him trying to rebirth himself through another human being.
Yeah, exactly.
Because correct me if I'm wrong, Mike.
Also,
like
even
the way that Freddy.
I always found this specifically.
Go ahead.
But yeah, I always found this about the entire franchise extremely odd because now he's trying to take possession of somebody coming back into the real world, and it's like why he's supposed to be a dream demon that can only affect people in their dreams. That's why even this part just never really made sense to me much.
Well, if you only have the knowledge of the first film, then this could make sense because this is the first time that we see him trying to come back. But every movie after this erases this entire movie. So this was kind of where they wanted to go with the story, but it didn't take flight. So watching it after watching everything else makes no sense. There's no time where Freddy would try to rebirth himself into the real world through another human being. That just doesn't happen. Not a terrible idea if you just wanted to do this movie and then not continue the series, because that works for this movie. I mean, I'm not gonna lie, it works. If you haven't seen the rest of them, then this movie actually can fit.
It would have worked if it would have ended here. No, it would have worked. No, but they just kept on making Freddy movies. No.
not a terrible idea. I mean, I actually like this a little bit better because you get
Yeah.
this creep factor that you don't get with the other movies. So anything after this, and you'll probably agree with me here too, anything after this is just goofy, right? I mean, I realize we're
Yeah,
gonna
but
do all the
yeah,
other.
that's always how I had. But that's the thing. Yeah, of course. But the thing is, when it comes to this, I always had the entire Nightmare on Elm Street franchise as goofy, and that's what everybody knows it for. I mean, even everybody I have ever known that knows A Nightmare on Elm Street knows it because it's goofy, and that's also why a lot of people I know that are not necessarily horror fans why they did not like the remake that much because the remake
Yeah,
just went into full horror and it did have
right.
the goofy stuff. That's one of the things why I like the remake. But
Yeah,
yeah, so I mean, after the second part, definitely you're right that it gets
yeah.
way goofier by movie. That's true.
Which it's arguable, at least from a horror movie standpoint, that this movie, I got to give it props for this. I mean, I'm going to give it props for a lot of reasons, but this movie actually makes Freddy scary. And the first movie, I
Yeah,
wasn't,
yeah,
I wasn't scared of Freddy. Like there was nothing scary about him. He was creepy, but he wasn't scary. This movie makes him scary, and then everyone after this makes him a complete fucking goofball who's not scary. So I'll give this movie props for actually making Freddy scary.
Oh wait, there was one I think that actually done it very good, making him scary. I think it was what is it called?
I know what you're gonna say. Wes Craven's New Nightmare.
Uh,
Wes Craven's New
what?
Nightmare.
Wes Craven Nightmare. Exactly. That was also that was the one of them that was not actually goofy. No,
Yeah. Well, I mean, I
because that
like
one
that movie,
actually made Freddy.
but
Yeah,
you
yeah,
kind of get into nerd territory here with that one because that one is not supposed to be perceived as canon, right? So if you want to talk about canon and all that
yeah,
nerdy stuff, it doesn't really fit. I choose
yeah,
to see it as a Nightmare on Elm Street movie. It makes sense as a Nightmare on Elm
yeah.
Street movie,
It
even
is.
though it happens outside of the actual story. Right. That one, I
Mhm.
can't wait to do that one on the podcast because that one's a very interesting movie. Not a great execution of it towards the end, but not a bad movie.
Yeah,
That one purposefully wanted to make him scary. That was the whole point because they felt at that point to reboot the franchise would be a big mistake, and a soft reboot would be the way to go to make Freddy scary, and that's what they did with that movie, right? Brilliant idea, but that Freddy is arguably just as scary as the Freddy in this movie. Um, he's a fucking scary guy in both these
yeah,
films, you know?
exactly.
So next scene we get, he's had another nightmare, but it's the next day, and he comes downstairs to where his family, and I don't understand this film, Mike, this part, I don't understand. He comes downstairs, the whole family's sitting there. They have birds now that they haven't had before. We've never seen these birds. These birds just appeared out of nowhere. So all of a sudden the family has birds as pets, whatever. They notice
Yeah.
that the bird cage is rattling and it's got like a drapery over it. So you can't see what's going on inside the cage. There's a lot of like rattling going on. So the family's like, what the fuck? Jesse pulls the top off the bird cage, and all of a sudden one of the birds comes out of the cage bloodied and dead, falls and hits the ground, right? And you realize that that bird got attacked by the bird that's in the bird cage, right? And this scene is absurd because this is just a little finch. This is a finch. We had these birds when I was a kid as pets. These birds, if you startled them too much because you moved too quickly, they would have a heart attack and die. That's how fragile these things are.
Yeah, yeah. Exactly. They would not do much.
This
They
fucking
might get out
shit.
and fly around, but they would not start going out and attacking people. Well, I mean, at this point, I just thought it was a dream scene. That's
That's so
originally what I
true.
thought. I thought it was a dream
Because it
scene
makes no sense.
because this made this it makes no sense because you have this bird flying around everywhere, attacking the father, then almost attacking the daughter, whatever. And then it flies up to
Yeah.
the ceiling and
Well,
explodes.
yeah, no sense. I thought it was a dream sequence, and it turns out not to be. The father,
But the thing is, because you
can
thought
we
it was a
agree
dream
that the
sequence,
father is the biggest pansy
yeah,
in the world at this point?
yeah,
I mean, the
yeah.
first, like, it,
I don't know. The father is the father is just a big fucking asshole because for some reason it cuts
yeah.
back to the kitchen. You know, the mom and dad are in the kitchen, and the dad's trying to figure out something on the gas line. It's not the gas. Okay, of course, yeah. I mean, the birds started going crazy, flying around through the front room and exploded because the
Well,
gas stove had a
it's
leak. Yeah,
it's
okay.
not just that. It's
It's like,
like
yeah, but there has to be a rational
even
explanation for
before
this
that
because
scene, even before that scene happens, and we're still in the room with the bird that is attacking people, they act like there's some gigantic monster in the room attacking them because the mom runs out and she gets a broom to give to the dad, who is scared to death and has blood streaming down his face. He's trying to hit it with the broom, decides the broom is not going to be enough, so he goes and gets a fucking baseball bat. He gets a fucking baseball bat.
For a
He's
bird.
sweating to death, and he's swinging this baseball bat around the room as if he's trying to protect his family from a fucking dinosaur. Like, it's a fucking bench, dude.
Yeah, but funny thing is, at this point, he's the only danger to his
He's
family.
more of a danger to the family than the bird is. He's swinging over the mom's head, the little girl's head. Dude's a fucking psycho, man. Yeah, okay, and then the bird explodes. If this is not the dream world, would you automatically assume, like you said, that it was gas?
Well, I don't know. This what?
Well, so the dad says your mom smelled gas, and so he's trying to.
Yes, exactly. Because then they were in the kitchen and the mom smelled gas and they thought it was gas, whatever. But this is just like, I mean, at this point, up until they go into the kitchen, I thought it was the dream world because it was just like none of this made sense. And it's just like when they're in the kitchen, you know, and the mom says, the dad says, "Oh, your mom smelled gas." It's like, how would they instantly think this is gas? I mean, this is like.
I don't know. This is where I say like the writing kind of went awry a little bit because nobody would have assumed that it was gas that made a finch explode in your living room. So it's nonsensical at this point. He's trying to figure out if there's gas coming out of the stove, and then immediately says, "You know what, Jesse? It's your fault. You did all this. You used the gas to make the bird explode. It's your fault." It's like a fucking fever dream. Like none of that makes any sense. Nobody would come to that conclusion. And then it's almost like scenes don't happen together. Almost. You know what I mean?
I mean, I mean, you could have easily just cut this
Yeah,
scene
I
out of
did.
the entire movie because how did that start?
Whatever. Nonsensical scene. I'm going to chalk that up to they did that scene because they needed more time in the movie. That's the only reason why that scene would be there because it makes no sense. Other than if you were just trying to get the audience to believe for whatever reason that they were in the dream world and then you weren't. Like it just to be
Yeah.
mysterious.
Yeah, because something should have happened that he like wakes up in his bed or whatever. No, then okay, then it's in the dream world. But I don't know. Maybe that was originally in the movie and they cut it out for some reason. But
I don't know.
yeah, it just doesn't make any sense.
I'd love to get a director's cut of this film because I feel like there were some things that weren't put in that don't make any sense when taken out. Because not only that, but that whole scene happened and makes no sense. And then the next scene you get is him screaming in his bed again, waking up. But we know that the scene that we just saw was not a dream sequence. So why are we now showing him waking up screaming again? The two don't fit. Anyway, he wakes up screaming in his bed. And goes downstairs to get some water or something. And as he's getting water, lightning strikes inside the house and strikes some plates that are sitting next to the sink. So there's your hint that this is a dream world, right? So it should be obvious from this point out. Why he does what he does next is beyond me. This feels shoehorned into the film. Or they could have found another way to do this, but it's pouring down rain outside. He goes outside wearing nothing but a pair of shorts and a shirt that's not buttoned up, goes out into this pouring rain and walks downtown. And this is obviously a downtown strip. This is a downtown strip full of bars, and stuff like that. He walks into a gay bar. I'd say like maybe like it was the 80s, so a lot of gay bars were kind of mixed. Like you had uh just that community in a bar.
I
He
know.
goes in there and I think
Yeah, to me, it just looked like a normal. To me, it
it
just
did
looked like
for
a
a little
normal
while
bar from
until
the
you
80s.
notice
I
that a
didn't
lot of the
notice.
guys that are in there are in leather, and they're wearing the typical like, you know, the fucking police caps and
Of
stuff,
course,
and you're like,
the
"Oh, it's a gay
typical
bar."
thing.
Okay. So he goes in there, and the reason that they did this was, and this Mike is where I'm like, okay, you can't tell sometimes if it's a dream world or not because the lightning struck the plates in the kitchen. That to me was a clear indication that this was a dream world, right? So he goes into this.
That and also what comes now, sorry, because he comes up, he sits down on the corner, and he orders a beer. And this is probably like a 16,
Yeah.
17-year-old kid. There's no way a 16, 17-year-old kid is going to walk into a bar in the States and order a beer. I mean, if this was
Yeah.
if this was in Germany, it would probably just be another Tuesday. But
Right. Not the States.
in the States, that was pretty much where I was sure, okay, this is a dream scene, because I know this is not going to happen in the part of the
Right, but
States.
my point here is you're led to believe that by a lot of different things that happen in the scene, right? You're led to believe that it's a dream world.
Yeah.
Turns out later, though, Mike, it's not. It's not. This is not a dream sequence. It gives you every indication that it is, but it's not. Because he goes in there and he orders a beer, he gets the beer, and then all of a sudden, his jerk of a coach sees him in there because his coach is at the bar as well. Right. So, and
Yeah.
he's wearing
Yeah.
this kind of, the typical get up for a gay bar, like the leather shirt and everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The
Right.
cliche.
So he sees him, he's been caught, right? The next scene you get is him running laps in the high school gym because his coach caught him in this bar. So his coach takes him back to the high school and makes him run laps inside of the gym as punishment for being out at a bar. Right. This scene has
Yeah.
got the creep factor all over it because this
Yeah,
freaking
but
high school coach is obviously a molester. He is. I mean, if you're out at the
yeah,
bar
but it's
and you
also,
see one of
but
your
specifically coming what happened. Yeah, I mean, for one, he's a molester, right? But that's also what I was saying. No, this entire thing is a dream scene, because you see like him walking around the house and you see like the red light that shows that's Freddy's
Well,
here, and then you see like no, because
Mike, it's a bar. It's a bar that's flooded with red lights. If it's a bar, well, at least in the United States, right? So,
but
and
no,
in Germany too, the red light
we're
is
not in the
specific.
bar anymore.
Huh?
We're not in the bar anymore.
You're talking
We're
about
back
the
in the
red lights in the gym. Okay.
Exactly.
Okay.
We're back in the gym. We're not in the bar anymore. No, and that's like, because you have like he's running around and you see like this red lights. Then he cuts back
Right.
to the coach where he's in the room with, and then a lot of you see like electricity in one of the tennis rackets, and then it starts flying off the shelf. Then you have a baseball flying through the room, and
Yeah.
then he gets on the floor, totally fucking freaked out what's happening. And you have this like all this sports stuff, just baseball bats, tennis rackets, footballs just flying over
Yeah.
everywhere. No? Then you have like these jumping strings wrap around his arms and start
Right.
pulling him through. Shortly before this happening, the coach told him told Jesse
Yeah, after
to
he'd
go
made him
have a
run
shower.
around the gym until he was tired. He said, "Go take a shower." That's
Yeah.
what you're talking about now. You get the scene with the coach in his office, balls are flying off the wall. Things are happening that would only happen in a dream sequence, right?
Yeah, exactly. So that's why I thought everything from the bar and this is just one big dream sequence. No, that's what I thought.
But that's the
Yeah,
thing
now
though,
I
and
took.
that might be for all the controversy this movie gets for being in the series, this might also be why it's ignored because there's no indication of what in this scene and what happens afterwards is actually in the dream world or not. And there's certain ways to see this, and this is why I bring this up. So the coach gets attacked by flying balls from all over the room and gym equipment and all that stuff. The jump ropes magically wrap around his arms and drag him into the shower. His clothes get stripped off and he's strung up on the wall hanging there naked, right? This is in the same shower where Jesse is. So Jesse's in there with him, and you start to see Freddy's metamorphosis from Jesse into Freddy in this moment. Like you don't see the whole thing like you do later, but you know that's what's happening. And so the coach is strung up against the wall in the showers by these jump ropes. And then the fog from the shower kind of engulfs Jesse because it's in the same room. And as the fog fades away, then you realize that it's Freddy. So Freddy has morphed out of Jesse and now attacks the coach. He slashes his back twice.
Yeah.
I'm guessing the guy died from blood loss because the cuts were really deep, right? So he slashes the coach twice in the back. There's a lot of blood. The coach dies immediately. And then the fog comes back from the shower going over Freddy Krueger, and then it goes away. And then Jesse's standing there with a glove on his hand. So you realize now that Jesse was the one that killed him, right? So here's my point,
Yeah.
right? So if all this was dream sequence, why is the coach now dead?
Jesse was sleepwalking.
Maybe. But that would mean that everything that we saw leading up to this point actually happened. Right? Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
so none of the stuff that you saw
Yeah.
was
You're
dream
right,
sequence. This actually happened. But I think there were elements of the dream world in the sequence, so you couldn't really tell what was real and what was not. Right? So what probably happened was he went to the bar, his coach saw him, his coach brought him back to the high school to punish him, probably had other intentions in mind, right?
Yeah.
And then Jesse killed him. But Jesse was probably also in and out of Dream. And that's why Freddy Krueger was allowed to do that. So Coach is dead.
Yeah. Yeah.
The next scene you get is at his parents' house. There's a knock at the door in the middle of the night. The parents come downstairs. There's two cops standing outside with Jesse, and he's got like a blanket on him because the cops say they found him naked wandering the highway, right? They're like, "Oh, we found your son naked, walking around in the rain. You might want to keep a tight leash on this boy, right?"
Keep a short leash on him. That's what
Yeah,
they
keep a
say.
short leash on him. At this point, Mike, if this was my kid, I would think he was crazy or on drugs, just like these parents do.
Yeah. Probably. Yeah.
What's also funny, and I think this gets missed if you're not watching closely, like the next morning after the cops bring him back, you notice the dad is putting bars on his window, which is exactly what happened in the first movie when the mom went crazy
Yeah.
and put bars all over all the windows. All right. So he's
Exactly. Yeah.
putting bars in the window. Jesse comes out of his room downstairs dressed normally. Mom's like, are you okay? Is everything all right? He's like, I'm fine. I'm just going to school, blah blah blah. The parents are kind of looking on like something's wrong with that boy because when the cops dropped him off, they were like, who are you getting the drugs from? You know, they think he's on drugs. Anyway, he leaves and goes to school.
No, that.
The mom is extremely perplexed. She's just standing there with a look on her face like, I don't know what we're going to do with this boy. And the dad's like, oh, he's just a teenager and he's probably on drugs. Whatever. He goes to school. Next scene we get, he gets in his car and we don't see it, but I think he goes and picks up his girlfriend, right? And they drive to
Yeah.
school together.
Yeah. That's what
The
happens.
minute
Yeah.
that they get there, Grady's standing there with another crowd of people and an ambulance and a couple of other emergency vehicles. And he put his hand on his chest and he says, stop, stop, stop.
Yeah.
Something happened. The coach got murdered last night, right? Somebody cut him up. And so you know now that all that stuff that you saw is definitely not a dream sequence. It happened, right? And Jesse knows that it was
Yeah.
him that did it. So now he's got to contend with the fact that these nightmares are actually real. They're not just in his head. He is murdering people. And that's why from here on out, we get a different version of Jesse. We get a very unhinged, unsure, a bit crazy Jesse for the rest of the film. And rightfully so. I mean, if this was happening to me, I'm pretty sure I would check myself in somewhere. But he doesn't do that. And I don't know why. This is the same thing that we see in the first movie where none of the kids are really being honest with their parents about what's going on. And in almost every movie that would have saved lives here.
Of course. Yeah.
But he
Yeah.
doesn't. He just goes back to his house. He has another nightmare and wakes up, walks over to a drawer in his room because he hears a rustling in his drawer. He opens it up and Freddy's glove is in there inside the drawer and it's moving.
Is
It's
that
not like
the
just
hand
laying
crutch?
there,
Yeah.
it's moving. He's like, fuck, I'm in another dream.
Yeah.
That's what he's thinking in his head. Fuck, it's another dream sequence. Closes the drawer, hears some noise down the hallway coming from his sister's room. So he goes into her room. And this is where we get the typical girls jumping jump rope singing the Freddy song, right? So his sister's in there jumping rope,
Yeah.
1, 2, Freddy's coming for
That's in
you,
every
3,
Freddy.
4,
That's in
better lock
every
your door, right?
Freddy.
So he sees that, closes her door, and walks back to his room. And that's kind of the end of the sequence. We don't really get anything else from that. We know it was a dream sequence, but nothing really happens in it but some imagery. Next morning, he wakes up. He looks like shit. He's got dark circles under his eyes. His hair's all fucked up. I think he even misbuttoned his shirt that he's wearing. Like it's buttoned a little fucked up. He walks downstairs. His family's having breakfast, and this scene's pretty cool because this is where he confronts his dad about where he got the house from, right? So his
Yeah.
dad's sitting there and he's like, "Hey dad, why did you not tell anybody about the things that happened in this house? You had to have heard about it." And he kind of tries to dodge the question until his wife is like, what's he talking about? What happened? You know, like what's going on? And the dad's kind of like, well,
Oh yeah.
why else would you think that we got this place so cheap? Blah, blah, blah. And now mom is pissed at the dad as well because he didn't tell anybody about what was going on. At this
Yeah.
moment, the toaster catches on fire behind Jesse for no reason at all. This is
Yeah.
yeah,
Just out
this is
of
not a
nowhere.
dream
Out of
sequence.
nowhere. Yeah, it's just like another one of those things that just happens entirely randomly that just I don't know, just throws the I don't know, the entire concept is now just another time thrown out of the window.
Like we're not following any of the rules here at all. So and it's
Yeah.
not like you can just say, "Oh, it's a random occurrence that could happen that the toaster catches on fire," because the toaster's not even plugged in, and the dad figures that out. He's like, "It's not even plugged in." So, not in a dream world, the toaster catches on fire, family's perplexed, end of scene. I don't know why that scene is in the movie. It makes no sense to be in the movie, and it feels way out of place. Even more so, this next scene also feels out of place until you realize what's going on. But the next scene, his girlfriend is talking to him. Jesse's girlfriend's talking to him. She says, "Hey, I got an idea." She obviously has a little bit of background on the town, right? And if she had a little bit of background on the town
Yeah, but
before
she's done
this happened,
research.
then she would have definitely been the one that would have clued this guy into the fact that he's living in the house that all this stuff happened. But she never does until now. She says, "Hey, I did a little bit of research. You know how all of the things that were written in the diary were about a boiler room, right? Well, there's a boiler room that has a history of bad things that have happened, and it's down the street from here. So they drive there. Then she pulls out little newspaper clippings and everything that she did the
Yeah.
research on. This is where you get the story of Freddy Krueger. She explains, "I think that you may be having some type of psychic connection to what happened back then." And the story goes, this child murderer kidnapped and murdered 20 kids, and he did that here. So he took them from Elm Street in Springwood and brought them to this facility to murder them. And that's why they're there. And she's hoping by bringing him there that he'll get more of a vision or maybe understand what's going on, and it'll lead him to something that'll help him stop having these nightmares. That doesn't really happen. But they get there and he's like, "I don't feel anything. I don't feel any connection to this place. I'm not getting anything." And then they see kind of a cabinet in the corner that's this big metal cabinet where you would normally put like tools or whatever. And it's kind of laying out under the facility. And it looks like it has scratches on it, like Freddy's glove scratched it or something. And they go over to it because they think something might be in it that'll give a clue. They open it up and I think this is supposed to be a jump scare, but it's honestly just a cute little rat. And he's got his little nest made in a helmet. Yeah. He's got his little nest made in a helmet inside this drawer. And this jump scare was completely ineffective. Like I just thought it was cute. Whatever. Cute little rat. And that's the last thing you see of that facility for right now. The next scene you get is down in Jesse's basement at his house. And this scene has no context either. This feels like a series of scenes that don't really have any context, that are just happening and you're supposed to draw something from it, but you don't really draw anything from it. It's down in his basement. The boiler or the furnace comes on with fire, and then you almost get, this is reminiscent of the Evil Dead. You almost get the little demon that's like moving around POV, right? And it's going from the furnace up the
Yeah.
stairs into his sister's room, right? Sister's room opens up. She's
Yeah.
laying in bed there by herself, sleeping. Something wakes her up. You don't hear anything, but something wakes her up, and she's like, "What's going on?" And then you hear Freddy's voice say, "Hey, little girl," right? And then the camera pans up to where you think it's going to be Freddy that's saying these things, but it's actually Jesse with Freddy's glove on. And instead of, this is a scene I thought he was going to attack his sister, but he didn't. He took the glove on his right hand and rolled the blankets back up over her to, make her warm. I think because he snapped out of it. I think because he was kind of in between sleep and awake, and he realized that Freddy had control of him. So then the next scene is you get him in his room, and he's got the typical bottle of stay awake pills that you see in the first movie. That's just most fucking generic 80s stay awake pills, things you could possibly come up with. He takes like 3 of them.
Yeah, I know. I mean, just like that's one thing that even some people in Germany take the kind of things where I'm just like, I think it's kind of dumb
Yeah.
because just drink
Yeah.
coffee
You're right. I mean,
or black tea does the same thing.
coffee works better than anything else. Well, okay, unless you have ADHD, in which case it has the opposite effect on me. I don't know if it does the same thing to you, but coffee just, it settles me down and makes my mind quit screaming at me, and then I can actually go to sleep. Coffee has the opposite effect on me.
Yeah, well, actually, I don't know, coffee to a certain degree. I can concentrate more when I drink coffee. It helps with concentration. Other than other people, I don't have problem with sleeping compared to other people with ADHD. I mean, that I just go into bed and fall asleep within 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Sometimes
Yeah,
not
I do
even
the
that.
same thing.
Sometimes I'm already. Yeah, but also it's kind of weird. Coffee does have an effect on me, but how should I say it? It doesn't matter what time of the day I drink coffee. I can just directly
Easily.
go back to bed.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
That's
yeah,
ADHD. And I was always wondering, like, most of my adult life, why I always had to have like giant pots of coffee with me everywhere I went. I just self-medicate with coffee and nicotine because it would speed everybody else up, but it just levels me
yeah,
out. Like it makes me normal for a little while, you know. But whatever, coffee
yeah,
would
yeah,
definitely keep a normal person awake, and that's what he should be doing. Which the next scene we get is him coming downstairs and
yeah,
pouring a giant cup of coffee and taking it with him to school, right?
yeah,
So the next scene you get is at the school, and it's Meryl Streep with her friend, and they're going through the lunch line, and they're getting food, and they go sit down at the table with Grady and
yeah.
Jesse. Jesse is a mess. It looks like he hasn't slept in weeks. This is probably the worst we've seen him in the film. He looks and acts like a fucking zombie. He's just sitting there. He's just got his
Yeah,
arms crossed,
that's true.
staring at the table. People are talking to him, and he's not really talking back. Grady's sitting next to him, stuffing his fucking face. This is a revolting scene to me, not because it's in any horror aspect, but in this entire scene, Grady is talking with a mouthful of food. Like, did you notice? He reminds me
Yeah,
of
yeah,
fucking
the entire
John
time. Yeah,
Belushi's
yeah,
character in Animal House with all the food in his mouth. You can't understand a fucking word he said. And for me, it's horrifying. Like, I would never be able to sit in the
yeah,
cafeteria next to a
yeah.
dude who's stuffing his fucking face like that and talking to me at the same time. Like, dude, chew your fucking food. Chew your fucking food before you say anything. So Jesse says something to Grady that pisses him off. I can't remember exactly what it was, but Grady throws his napkin on the ground and walks out. Also a scene that I'm not really sure why it's there, but whatever. Next scene you get
Yeah,
is the
yeah.
start of the party. Right. So this night, Meryl Streep, his girlfriend, is having a big party at her house at the pool. Her parents are there. Her
Yeah.
parents are complete fucking hornballs because they can't stand outside and make food on the grill or do any of that without like wanting to go inside and have sex. So that's what they do. The mom comes out to her dad and is like, "Hey, baby boy, it's time to go to bed." And so he's like,
No, no, actually, not. There's actually a different reason for that. No, because shortly before the party starts, you have like Meryl Streep and her friend walking with Jesse down the hallway, and the friend of Meryl Streep says, "Your dad's
"Okay,
not going to be the DJ again." No, and then it goes back to the party where
yeah,
the dad is grilling for the kids or whatever. No, and then Meryl Streep is talking to her mom, because her dad's
okay, I
also
missed
going to
that.
do
I
the same
missed
thing
that.
or whatever.
Okay,
No,
okay,
yeah,
okay."
yeah, and then the mother says, "Okay, don't worry, sweetie. No, don't worry, sweetie. I'll take care of your dad." No, so
Okay.
then she walks up to the dad, and then she starts like that for to get him, so get him to go back with her in the house, so they can leave the kids alone, so
So
they can
she
have their fun.
entices him with
No,
sex to get him away
that
from the
was the
party.
thing.
Okay, okay. I
Yeah,
totally missed
exactly.
that, dude. That's funny as fuck. Okay.
Yeah,
So he leaves with her, with the mom, and goes in the house. The party's going on outside. Jesse is there, but he's not having any fun. Like the dude is sleep deprived, obviously having a lot of
no, not at all.
issues. Huh?
I just
Oh,
agreed with
okay,
you.
okay.
I just agreed with you,
Um,
Matt. That's it.
so he's not having a good time. He goes back into the changing room at their house, I guess, because he wants to like get out of his bathing suit, put his normal clothes on, and leave. Meryl Streep follows him. She's like, "Hey, what's going on? You've been acting really strange lately. Is everything okay?" He doesn't want to talk about it. He's like, "I think there's
Yeah,
something said here." He's trying to push her away a little bit. Like he's trying to get her away from him because he realizes that he's dangerous. He has not shared anything with anybody about what happened with the coach, only he knows this. He realizes he's a danger to everybody and he's trying to push her away from him, which is probably what I would do as well. She's not
yeah,
having
yeah.
any of it. She wants to make out with him. So that's what they start doing. Reluctantly, they're making out. They end up on the floor of the place. And all of a sudden, as they're making out and probably about to have sex, Freddy's tongue pops out of his mouth, right? And this is cool too, because it's a pretty decent sized prosthetic. Like it's
Yeah, yeah.
I looked up what the actors had to say about it because I was interested. This thing was actually 10 inches long. It rolled. It was a prosthetic that rolled up into his mouth. So that scene where you see it popping out of his mouth, he'd actually had it in his mouth the whole time. And when he opened it up, it rolled out. But it's a cool prosthetic. It's extremely like
Yeah.
unsettling. And the makeout stops there. At this exact same time, the parents are upstairs in the bedroom. They both poured themselves a glass of scotch and they're talking to each other and she's trying to get him ready to to have sex with her so that he'll ignore what's going on outside. And all the kids that are outside of the pool are watching the parents' room waiting for the lights to go out because they know when the lights go
Yeah.
off that he's not paying attention to what's going outside and they can bring out the beer, turn on the loud music and start doing what they wanted to do the entire time, right?
Yeah.
He's still not having it. Like, the lights haven't gone off yet. The dad is like, yeah, those damn kids, they're being so loud. And the lights go off, and she's like, oh, don't worry about them. They're just being kids, to try to get him to stop paying attention to what's going on outside. The lights go off, everybody cheers, they bring out the beer, and they start partying. And this is the scene where this is right after the tongue part. Jesse leaves. He gets the idea, hey man, something's not right with me, obviously, because the tongue came out of his mouth. He's worried about hurting Meryl Streep. Why is Grady not at this party? Is my next question.
Okay, that's a good question because he's at home, and because I do not know why he's not at this party. Because Jesse just leaves and goes to Grady. He doesn't go home. He just goes to Grady. Why is a good question. No,
I don't get it.
Why he's not there?
It's obviously not that late at night,
Maybe
and Grady's already in bed going to sleep, right? So yeah, I mean he is. He's in his bed. He's going to sleep.
Yeah.
Jesse's,
I don't know. Maybe he's grounded, or maybe he just wasn't alive.
yeah, anything. No reason. It's a movie. Shit happens. Whatever. So Grady's at his house. He's going to sleep. Jesse somehow gets into his room. I don't understand this either. But the next thing, huh?
He's just there. He just spawns into
because there really
Grady.
is no other explanation for it. You don't see him go into the house. You don't see him break into the house. You don't see him come up through the bedroom window. Nothing. He's just automatically in fucking Grady's room. Grady doesn't think this is weird at all. Like, Grady's
He's
like,
just
oh, hey, man, what are you doing here? Like, no. The first question I had is, how the fuck did you get in my house, dude? What the fuck is wrong with you? That doesn't happen. Grady's like, oh, what's going on, man? What can I do for you? I'm trying to sleep. Jesse's like, dude, you got to help me.
Yeah.
And this is kind of the same scene that we get in the first movie with Johnny Depp and his girlfriend, where she's like, hey, you have to watch me. You can't let me fall asleep. If something strange starts happening, you need to wake me up, that kind of thing. Grady's like, okay, I don't know what this is all about, but if that's what you want, all right. So Jesse sits down in a chair next to him and immediately starts to go to sleep. Right. When that happens, we kind of start to get a little bit of a metamorphosis scene, right? And it happens slowly. It's not like a quick thing. I would call this a slow burn for this kind of movie, but it's a cool slow burn. So he's already fallen asleep.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, it is a slow burn, but this is the metamorphosis scene. This is pretty much where I say, like, this entire thing, how this scene starts and how it plays out is more like a werewolf movie than anything else. Yeah. Jesse is sleeping all of a sudden. Then he wakes up.
Yeah.
And he's like, it's happening again. And does not really make sense because Jesse is not sure if something's happening. And he's going through this transformation, not like it's the first time. But overall and generally, the metamorphosis scene that's going on here is actually pretty fucking cool.
It's great.
He just transforms into Freddy. You have like the blades coming out of his fingers, and then his skin ripping up and everything. And then at this point, you have like McGrady already flipping out and hammering on the door because he wants his parents to get back. And you already see McGrady like totally fucking panicking, running towards his door, trying to open it up. What?
You just called him McCready. Grady, but you said
McGrady.
McGrady, which is the character the thing. Okay, I mean, let's roll with it. No, Mike, you just fucked it up. We're calling him McGrady from now on.
Yeah, call him McGrady. Okay, yeah. Okay. We're gonna call him McGrady. However, McGrady is now trying hammering on the door, yelling for his father to open up the door. This is like one of the other things in scenes like this that happens.
Yeah, no, me and Christy said the exact same thing.
Just kick it in. I mean, it's a wooden door. I mean, any guy would not have a problem.
Well, Mike, it's all because we see the claws go through the door like butter. You're like on the other side, and there's blood dripping down. The door's thin as fuck, and your son is being murdered on the other side. Kick down the fucking door. Yeah, but that doesn't happen. Not if I was his dad, I'd have been through the door in 2 seconds. But not only does that not happen, you quit hearing the parents for a while. This entire scene, he's murdering this guy. He's screaming bloody murder, and you don't hear the parents anymore until he morphs from Freddy back into himself. And then you hear the parents trying to break down the door again. So basically, a whole 5 minutes went by where they were just standing there letting this happen, not even trying to get into the door. It makes no sense. But I can forgive it because this entire scene is done so well. Like, the transformation scene, first you see the knives start to come out of the front of his hand. Then you see his arms start to bust open and you see the sweater underneath it. And then he backs up into a wall and opens his mouth to scream. And inside of his mouth, you see Freddy's eye. Like it kind of zooms into his mouth and you see Freddy's eye on the other
Oh
side,
yeah, right,
inside of
yeah.
his mouth. And then Freddy busts through his chest like a chest buster from Aliens. I love it. Busts through his chest and then shreds
Yeah.
the rest of his body off the top of him, just like in a fucking werewolf movie. So you're spot on with that. It is like a werewolf transformation, and it's the best special effects that have been done in this series ever, all the way up until the last one. Like this is a great scene. So he kills McGreedy. He kills McGreedy, and then you get a scene where he's looking into a mirror that's in the room. Right there's a mirror on this chest of drawers, and you see Freddy in the mirror, and Freddy's just maniacally laughing at him while Jesse's standing there covered in blood and realizes what he's done. Freddy's just standing there laughing at him. Jesse breaks the mirror and then hops out the window because he knows the parents are going to break into the room and he doesn't want to get seen in there with the dead body of his friend. So he jumps out the window, and this is where I get a little bit confused, man. Not because I don't know what comes next, but I don't know what comes between these scenes. Like, basically, like we're just at the party next.
I just remember him going back. No, it's at the party. You have like the scenes where they're partying. You have like the kids making out
Yeah.
and stuff like that, like a typical
Yeah,
party
okay.
scene.
I
Then
remember.
pretty much in that time, and then it jumps. Yeah, jumps between that, and then Jesse knocks on the front door. No, the scene happens because you have like Meryl
Yeah.
Streep talking to her friend. No, because she's
Right.
worried about him or whatever, and then her friend says like, "Yeah, just go to him. Just go see your boyfriend." And she's like, "Yeah, but the party." Yeah. Their friends, "Oh, fuck the party. No,
Yeah.
just go and check on your boyfriend." However, and then she was preparing to leave, and then Jesse comes running in the door.
Yeah.
Covered in blood.
Yeah.
No, and yeah,
Okay.
that's where it
So
continues
at
from
this
that point.
point, I think I would be a little bit more worried than Meryl Streep is because, like, he is covered in blood. It's not just like little bits of blood. Both of his arms are covered in blood. He's got blood on his chest. He's freaking out. And he says, I killed Grady. So, and she's
Exactly.
like, oh no, what can I do to help? No, not what can I do to help? Like, call the fucking police, dude. Get the fuck as far away from that guy as you can and call the police because he just murdered your friend. No, she's okay. She thinks something else might be going on. She wants to help him. What a damn great girlfriend, dude. Holy fuck. That's fantastic.
Yeah.
So while that's happening inside, things at the party start happening. So weird things like everything on the grill that's just cooking now catches on fire, right? And everybody that's out at the party is like, what the fuck? The beer cans start getting holes
Yeah.
in them. Like Freddy's somehow there poking holes in the beer cans and they're spewing beer. So things outside are not going very well. And that's kind of the quick flash we get. The next flash we get is back into the house with Grady and his girlfriend. She's sitting there trying to read things out of the diary to him to explain to him what might be going on, right? So that he can understand what's happening to him. While she's doing this, we get
Yeah.
scenes of things happening at the party again. So there's a padlock that's on the outside of the gate of the pool. It turns itself and locks itself. So now nobody can get out
Yeah.
of the pool area. Right. And we already know that this thing has walls that you can't get out any other way except through that locked area. Flash back to the house. All the locks in the house start locking in front of everybody. So people notice it. The parents, and this doesn't make any sense to me, Mike, but did you notice this? In the parents' room, the door locks, right? But the lock is one of those American turn locks. It's like this way, and then you just turn it this way to lock it. And it's on the inside of the room with them, right? But all we see is them trying to open the door, and they're like, "It's open." They never try to turn the fucking lock. What's going on, dude? Like somebody probably should have thought about this, but they were like, the audience won't notice it. So we got some really
Probably.
stupid parents. And then everything in the house starts to lock. But the problem is, if a house locks, all the locks are on the inside of the house. So the windows go down and the locks on the windows turn. So you can't get out the window. The door lock on the front door locks. So now you can't get out the door unless you turn the lock and open the door. Or unless on the windows, you turn the lock and open the window. Like you're not doing anything by locking in somebody inside the house. You can get out of the house. So this whole scene with the doors locking and the windows locking makes no sense. And they even go the extra mile to show the parents in the room again, beating on the door, trying to get out, and they still have not turned the damn lock. Yeah.
Just opening the lock.
Then inside the house where Jesse and Meryl Streep are, things in the room start happening. The TV set explodes. The fucking fish tank that's next to them with all these fish on it busts open and all the fish fall out and the water falls out. Jesse kind of looks like he faints, but he faints in front of a desk that's in the room. And then all of a sudden, she kind of looks over to see if he's okay, and Freddy's arm pops up on the desk. So now he's transformed back into Freddy again, right?
Yeah.
So this is her first time seeing Freddy Krueger, so she's scared to death, and she starts trying to run away. She runs to the front door, and can't open it because it's locked. But yet again, all she would have had to do would have been to turn the lock on the inside to get out. She doesn't do it. I don't know why. She goes to the door, can't get out of the door, and tries to run past Freddy. Freddy jumps her, tackles her to the floor, and then for whatever reason, he bites her leg. He's just like, oh, look. He just starts chewing on her leg. I'm like, what the? Okay, whatever. She kicks him and gets her off of him and runs to the window that is kind of looking out to where the pool is, right? She notices that there are a bunch of people standing at that window of her house looking in at her, and they're trying to get the door open as well. Freddy is standing in the room with her, throwing dishes at her for whatever reason. I don't know why. He's like picking up dishes off the shelves and throwing them at her.
Yeah. It's just crazy because this is like the least threatening Freddy Krueger has ever been because she goes in the kitchen, grabs a knife, it cuts back to Freddy, and what does Freddy do? He knocks off a plate off of the.
Oh, I don't know. I don't know what's going on here. By the way, this butcher knife that she had.
What?
This butcher knife that she has is like the least sharpest cardboard looking butcher knife I have ever seen in the props department. Like it is obviously made of cardboard. It looks worse than those ones that you would buy from the Halloween store. That's how fake this thing looks. She grabs it and she's holding it up to him, and he gets really close to her and starts speaking to her with Jesse's voice. And he says in Jesse's voice, "I love you, help me." And so this is all just to taunt her because she's freaking out. And he does it twice. He speaks with his voice to her. She loses it and starts trying to stab him with the knife. The knife is going in his skin, but the whole time he's just laughing. Like it's not doing anything to him, right? And then Freddy grabs her by the face. This is a continuity error as well. And I don't know if you noticed this, but we see him with the Freddy glove on. He's got the glove on, and then he's not wearing the glove. It's just his hand with the knives coming out of it on her face. Then the very next scene, you see him glove on again. And then the next scene, it's not. It's a hand with, like, they weren't paying attention to continuity here at all. But that doesn't matter. Anyway, he's standing there. He's got his hand on her face, and he's telling her, there's nothing you're going to be able to do. He's mine now. There is no Jess anymore. It's just Freddy. And then instead of killing her, which I don't understand why he doesn't kill her.
Yeah.
Explain to me why he doesn't kill her. I don't get it.
I don't know. It's weird because he did. I just remember, I do not know why he doesn't kill her. He just runs out into the car with the pool and just starts murdering everybody else.
Well, he throws her against the wall instead of killing her and then jumps through the door, like smashes the door to pieces. But as he smashes the door to pieces, he disappears, like into thin air. Like he doesn't like run out and then run into the pool area.
Yeah.
What happens is he disappears. Things are happening. And I don't know if you noticed this either, Mike, but there are electrical lights that are on top of the pool, like running over the top of the pool. I get it. It's the 80s, but who thought this was a good fucking idea? Because these things are sparking and there's like electricity coming out of them and they're right over the pool. Like you never hang electrical lights over a pool. This is the dumbest, stupidest fucking thing ever, but they did it. It starts sparking, things catch on fire, and then all of a sudden Freddy explodes out of the ground, like where the pool is. He jumps out. Ah! Yeah. And then this is the first time you ever see this and the last fucking time you ever see this. Freddy Krueger pulls a Jason Voorhees because now he's just slashing motherfuckers. Like he is... Yeah, he's not in the dream world. He is a concrete, real person standing there with a bunch of teenagers running, screaming around him, and he's just slashing them as they walk by, like straight cacking people. People are trying to get away, but they can't because the gate is locked and there's walls and stuff. The only problem with that is there is a little black fence that's off to the right that is about maybe this high on me. Any of them could have jumped over that fence and gotten away, but none of them did that, and I can't figure out why. Whatever. So he's still killing people.
Yeah, well, I think the things that happen at Hinge because you like one guy actually tries to. Because I think there are things that Freddy somehow has this shit under control because there was one guy that went to the fence and actually tried to open up and got electrocuted
right.
by
I
it
remember that
somehow.
now.
So that he was pulling off his, dream
Yeah.
magic shit, even though this is not a dream, but he's pulling off his dream magic shit and somehow is preventing them from
Yeah. Did
getting
you
out
notice the
there.
poor guy?
Because
Did you
didn't you
notice?
just see like him?
Go ahead.
No, then you see just Freddy just standing in front. You are all my children now.
Did you notice that as everybody was trying to get away and hop over the fence, that there was one poor guy that just got trampled by everybody else?
Yeah, I
He
know.
was like, "Oh, Freddy doesn't have to kill people. They're stepping all over each other. They're just murdering each other trying to get out of there." Freddy's like,
Yeah, I got that one.
yeah, he's not just slashing people either. For whatever reason, he's picking up like those little plastic stupid lawn chairs and throwing them at people. Freddy Krueger, he's still a goofy bastard. Yeah, and then he does the thing where he's like, "You are all my children." One guy tries to walk up to him and reason with him.
Yeah.
He's like, "Hey, it's okay. Calm down. Everything's going to be all right. There's no reason to do this." And he fucking murders that guy too, like in the middle of his little speech.
Yeah. He just slashes him with his knives and then throws him, I don't know, like multiple meters over the grill. Something like that.
There
Yeah.
is one death here that's actually pretty cool too, because there's this one bigger guy. He's a lot bigger than Robert Englund, but he's trying to run past Freddy, right? And Freddy just takes his claws and shoves him right into his stomach as he's running by. And I was like, oh, that's a pretty gory kill. Okay, that's cool,
Yeah.
So at this point, Meryl Streep's parents have realized that there's commotion going on in the pool area. So he grabs a shotgun from the inside of the house. I love this because the case that the shotguns are in have a little like door handle on it, which he can just open and grab the gun, but he doesn't. He smashes it. He smashes through it, grabs the gun, runs outside, takes a shot at Freddy, but he's an absolutely terrible shot, like most people who have guns and don't actually practice with it.
Yeah. The fun thing is that no one thing you notice, but I'm not a gun expert,
Yeah.
but he manages
Yeah.
to miss
And it is
with a
buckshot too.
shotgun.
Yeah. The other super annoying.
I mean, how bad do you have to be if you miss somebody with a shotgun?
Like you could hit the broadside of a barn from 300 meters away with one of those things. What's even worse, he misses that shot and he goes to take another shot, right? And if you know anything about the spread of a shotgun and what happens when you shoot a shotgun, if you shoot a flat surface this far away from you, you're going to get peppered by all of that buckshot. It's going to come right back at you because it's little pieces of metal that are sprayed at a hard surface that ricochet. So he's trying to take another shot, and his daughter, Meryl Streep, runs up and pushes the gun down, which causes him to shoot the pavement beneath him. If that had actually happened, he would be missing both legs right now. But whatever, it's a movie. It's okay. So that happens. The next part is completely indescribable for me because it makes absolutely no sense. And maybe you know what I'm talking about. For whatever reason, Meryl Streep goes outside and jumps in Jesse's car and drives immediately to the factory where the boiler room. How does she know that he's there?
Well, because it was the first place she would look if she knows that
Really
he's
though?
Freddy.
I mean, I wouldn't have done that.
Of
I mean,
course.
I don't know. Like,
Huh?
okay, sure. I mean, if
I mean, if it was Jesse, yes, because she knows that somehow this boiler room is tied to Freddy, no? And she's the one that's done research on a lot of these things, knowing that he killed people there, no? So if you have no idea where to look for him, no, that's like the only lead she had, the only place she knew where to look for Freddy. So it was obvious to me that she drove there first. I mean, I thought it would have been weird if she would look for Freddy at any other place. I mean, you don't know if how should I say, she might have not even went there to find Freddy, just to find some kind of hint where he could have been.
Yeah.
Because at that point, that was probably like her only
Maybe.
lead where to find Freddy.
I guess I'll take that. I'll take that. That's fine. I mean, it would have not have been my first instinct, but that's okay. So she drives there, and this is where we get the scene with the two dogs that I think is cool. This was done here quite effectively. This could have looked very goofy, but it actually worked out pretty well. She goes to the factory, and guarding the factory are these two weird dream-looking dogs, but it's basically two Rottweilers, but they have these masks on that look like half human. right? It's really off-putting. Like it's pretty creepy.
Yeah.
It was used effectively and it works. It could have come off as very goofy, but it works. She just passes right by those dogs, so I don't know why those dogs were there because they don't do anything to her. She just walks right past them. They're just creepy little whatever.
Yeah.
This is where we get this cool kind of like bird's eye view almost of the factory. And this is a cool shot because she's on top walking around looking for Freddy. And this was obviously filmed with a helicopter because we didn't have drones at this time, but the helicopter's kind of flying around it. And I think this is an actual factory because this doesn't look like a set. This looks like a factory with a lot of fog that's been used. So
Yeah.
it's pretty effective set. It looks really cool. And this is where the rest of the movie, Mike, from this point on makes absolutely no fucking sense. None. Can you explain to me what any of this means?
No, because no, because she's walking through this factory, and then you see like this rat that then turns into a monster, but is eating like a cat that also turns into a monster, and then she's running back and forth, and nobody knows why or
Yeah.
how. But then all of a sudden, Freddy is there, no, and he's like, he says something I
Doesn't
don't
make any
remember,
sense.
and then everything catches on fire for no reason. Then Freddy starts to burn, and the scene is pretty cool because they have like Freddy's face melting off and everything. And she's like sitting there totally fucking screaming everywhere. And then Freddy just falls down, is dead, is burned. Then all of a sudden Jesse just wakes back up and scrapes off, pulls off Freddy's skin off of him.
Yeah.
No? And then he's just looking up there like, oh, what the fuck just happened?
It makes absolutely no
entire
sense.
scene,
Like
man.
I will say with every other Nightmare on Elm Street movie, there's a clear way to kill Freddy Krueger, right? And the way is always, including the first movie, which is why it makes no sense that they did it this way. But if you are able to bring him out of the dream world, then you can make him human enough to kill him, right? But this scene, all we know is that he's made the full transformation from Jesse into Freddy Krueger. So now you have Freddy Krueger as himself, as an actual human being held up in his factory, boiler room, whatever. She walks up there, basically talks to him. So apparently you can kill Freddy by talking to him. Maybe she bored him. Whatever. She starts saying, no, I know Jesse's still in there, blah, blah, blah. So you maybe get an internal struggle between Freddy Krueger and Jesse, but it doesn't seem like that because Freddy just falls over and then everything catches on fire. No reason why that would have happened, but everything catches on fire. Freddy burns to death. And we, like you said, we get the cool like melting Freddy face that we never got before. The effects are pretty cool. At least there's that. The effects are cool. He melts. He's just this crumpled body that's been burned to death on the ground, and it starts to stand up. And like you said, he pulls off Freddy's flesh from the face and the body and everything, and it's him underneath. He's completely okay. Yay, the day is saved. Freddy's dead. We don't know why. Yeah, like no explanation there whatsoever. The writing at the end of this movie went nowhere. Even worse than that, Mike, I'm pretty sure Jesse would be in prison the rest of his life. The rest of his life. But
Yes,
here's the thing
definitely.
about that, and I hear that a lot with the end of this movie. It's like this guy would have been in jail the rest of his life. Nothing would have been okay. Well, we don't really know that it's not okay because the only next sequence we get is a dream sequence. There's no
Exactly. Yeah, you
Yeah,
don't know.
you don't really know
you
what
never really know what
you
happened
just
to
get
Jesse.
this happy family, which apparently is the next day, is what it looks like. His arms wrapped up because he got burned a little bit, right? And he
Yeah.
comes out of his parents' house. His parents are all happy that he's okay again. His girlfriend's all happy. They get on the bus and they're taking the bus to school. And Jesse starts to notice that the bus is speeding up again, just like it did at the beginning of the movie when Freddy was driving it. And he stands up and he's like, hey, this bus is going too fast. This bus is going too fast.
Yeah.
Something's wrong. And then he realizes that the bus is not going too fast because it stops and picks somebody else up. So false alarm. And then he's like, I guess everything's going to be okay. And he sits back down in his seat and Meryl Streep's friend is behind them in the seat behind them. And she's like, yeah, it's going to be just fine. And Freddy's arm pops out of her chest. And then you see the bus careen back into the desert again, just like it did at the opening of the scene. So this is obviously a dream sequence. And that's the end of the movie, right? So the last 20 minutes of this film makes absolutely no fucking sense. What?
Same
just-
way as in the first part.
It's not a cohesive story. I don't know how he killed Freddy. I don't know why he needs to be reborn through another human being to come into this world, especially since he only exists in the dream realm. You can see why this movie was not used with canon with the rest of it. I get it.
Could've made more
Still
sense, yeah.
a better movie than the first one.
True.
Yeah,
True.
still a better movie than the
That's
first
true,
one.
yeah.
It's better in a lot of ways, dude. The acting is better. Like I would say, I will say this. I have to give it to the cast. Everybody in this movie was a great actor. It was done really well. Usually horror movies from the 80s, the acting is atrocious.
Yeah.
And all of these actors did a really, really good job. And for me, they made the movie. And not only that, but I've watched a lot of behind the scenes and then interviews the actors did later. And this cast likes each other a lot. Like they're still lifelong friends. You get the feeling from watching them talk together that they really had a good time making this movie. I think there was a lot of controversy about this movie that we really didn't touch on in this video. And that's because, quite honestly, um, I don't think it matters for what we do on this podcast. I think on this podcast, we take a movie for what it is and we rip it apart if it's ridiculous and then we praise the good parts of it. I know that the gay community champions this movie as a gay horror film. I tend to agree with that. I understand why they feel that way.
Oh, yeah.
And
Yeah.
I also understand why it's championed the way that it is. I give the props to the movie for that. That yeah, but watching this as a
Yeah,
film by
it's
itself
obvious, yeah.
without that, um, it's a completely different piece. And I know this movie means a lot to a lot of people, and I'm not taking anything away from that. I completely support that. That's awesome. We didn't touch on that here because I just don't think it really fits with what we do. We're here to rip this movie apart and then praise it for what it was
No,
good
no.
for. But if anybody wants to talk about that, please feel free to talk about that in the comments or whatever you want to say. Just know that me and Mike fully support, equal rights for everyone. And hey, man, every movie means something to somebody in a different way. And that's what makes horror great. Anyway, Mike, you got anything else to say about this atrocious but good movie at the same time before we call this one quits?
No, so no, not really. I mean, it's better than the first one, definitely. Just the entire concept of the movie makes no sense. I mean, compared with the entire, the entire concept of this movie throws the entire Dream Demon thing
Which
out of the
is why
window.
I don't think they ever
So,
went back to this
yeah,
concept. And watching it again now,
probably. Yeah.
I completely understand that. But I think like we said, I've kind of beat it to death. Like I do praise this movie for being better in the acting department and the visual effects department more so than any of the other movies, because the other movies look like they were done on a shoestring budget and Freddy is just a goofy bastard. Whereas in this one, he was actually pretty scary. So not the worst Nightmare on Elm Street movie. That would definitely be like the last one and the first one. Like we didn't rip this movie apart like I thought we would because it actually has some really good stuff in it. But once we get to part 3, 4, and 5, dude, we're gonna have a fucking field day. Those movies are awful. This is dreadful. Yeah. So
Yeah. I mean, I remember which one was it that had Super Freddy in it?
oh my God.
There was one of
That
them
was
that had
Nightmare on
Super
Elm Street
Freddy in
3.
it, right?
That's the next one. That's the next one, man. Yeah, that was atrocious. That's also the one with the hellhound. Uh yeah. The other thing that has no
God,
explanation, the dog that pees on the ground and opens up a portal to hell and nobody understood. So they asked Robert Englund and he was like, "That was a hellhound." No, it's
Yeah.
a hellhound. You're just making shit up, Robert.
That one,
Do
yeah,
we
we
know
have got
what
that
our
one, yeah.
next episode is? I think it's Evil Dead 2, right? With Nemiga. It'll be a complete surprise which one we do next for you guys. But anyway, guys, thanks for tuning in. Like Mike said, drop us a like, drop us some comments, and let us know if you like it or hate it, right? And we will see you guys next time. I'm Matt.
Yeah, exactly.
See you guys later.
Hi, Mike. So, see you later.
The black skies, the dark side. Stay and simply